Hello, welcome to October 25th, 2022. My name is Kurt Bell, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video, an exercise that I perform each and every morning shortly after dawn. It's now it's a little late start, 4:40 this morning. And I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, to recount these one by one, and to go over the events and opportunities yesterday to see how I did applying my objectives and principles to those events and opportunities, and to plan for the coming day. Can you hear the owls? Listen. Well, let me see if I can get that to come through. I'll capture it at the window. Let's step out here. They're up on the roof, like Santa Claus. Anyway, I'll miss hearing those owls at night. Anyway, let's talk about yesterday and last night. I think it was a pretty good day. Solid day of work. I didn't have a lot of meetings, and I don't have a lot of meetings today, which is, I was telling Yumiko that I feel like I don't feel good when I don't have a lot of work. But the last 3 weeks have been incredibly busy. Lots of overtime, including lots of undocumented overtime. So yeah, I guess a little bit of a respite here after the fact is worthwhile. But I mean, I have been doing stuff. I certainly have been busy, but just not on overdrive like I usually am. In terms of opportunities, well, I guess that's an opportunity to be reasonable, right? Reasonable in my expectations of my work. I've always been a very hard worker and diligent, dedicated, conscientious, self-confident of my own self-management. I always think that I've been the kind of person that doesn't require a lot of supervision because I'll supervise myself. So but that at the same time can be detrimental if I'm a taskmaster to myself. So the rest of the week should be like that, basically. But we're leading into another project's important kickoff on Friday. But I'll be missing all of that because that's the actual day of our move. Excuse me. And I took that day off because I have to attend to the actual movers. All right. Anything else? Feeling the end here. Every last thing now is kind of feeling like the end. You know, we had pie last night. I rode my motorcycle to Julian, a community nearby famous for apple pie, and I picked up a nice traditional apple pie. They have several types at the bakery that we go to there. It's a bakery a little out of town, next to Heroes Pizza, right next door next building next door, and I got a pizza there too. That would be my third time to have a pizza there by myself. Just because Julian was a nice ride away. Good days, half day's ride, back and forth. It takes up a half day to ride back and forth. Yeah. What else? The place is empty now. This room still remains. We still have our stuff here. We will need to pack. That feeling, that atmosphere of departure as the bag's packed and get ready to go. Gosh, I know this feeling so well. That sense of about to leave. All right, it's melancholy, isn't it? But you get over it right away. It'll only last for a little bit. I do have some worries. I am worried about, my main worry now is, well, there's two things I'm worried about. One, will our dogs bark in the new place? I don't want to disturb the neighbors. We do have walls that abut neighbors on either side now, and our dogs do bark if they hear noises. So I have a plan to work on that, mainly the arrangement of the rooms so that we'll have the dogs away from any potential sounds. And at night, it won't be a perfect solution, but I have that. I have other ideas too. The other thing that I'm worried about is, will I be able to, sustain my practice of going into the office basically every other day. Twice a week is fine. Will I be able to do that? It's a long ways, long commute. I think I can, and I don't need to. I can work fully from home, and I'm sure all my coworkers are just fine with that. It's mostly about me. I work better from the office. It's not that I actually work better. I feel better from the office. I work just as hard at home. That's not the issue. The issue is that I feel like I'm at work, and I sleep better because I don't bring my work home with me and to bed with me. That's got a ring to it. Okay, let's do the good life meditation. I have 7 objectives and 32 principles, as follows. When the objectives are the things that I want to achieve, this is the type of life that I want to live, the type of man that I want to be and become and remain. And I do this through constant, vigilant exercise and oversight. Mainly this exercise here, this literally spending of 30 minutes to an hour thinking about my life objectives and principles, enumerating them categorically one by one, looking at them, taking a flashlight, so to speak, and examining from multiple sides. Even if I do it in a cursory, rapid manner, like just what I call the lightning round, just one after another, that's fine. But when I do the deeper examination, it comes out even better. Okay, these are as follows. 1, to be always ready to die. To have my life in a steady, stable state, even if things are not steady and stable around me. I want to have my affairs in order, my relationships tight and sound, and my life's work in a state of being underway. So I'll look at those right now. Are my affairs in order? Yes, they are. Are my relationships good? Indeed. And is my life's work underway? Very much so. I guess in a way I could say that I'm done at that point, right? I mean, to be always ready to die kind of indicates that things are fulfilled, although it doesn't really speak to the steady, ready state of mind. That's something different. It's kind of like the house is in order, but is the occupant at peace, or at least maintaining a semblance of peace, not a disingenuous semblance of peace, but a semblance of peace, such that even if I am having trouble on the inside, even if I am upset, I don't infect others with that, so to speak. It's not that I'm not honest about it. I mean, I am, particularly with those to whom I should be honest, namely my wife. She gets to see this. She gets to see all of me. Not that I could keep anything hidden from her to begin with. She can see right through me. That's what we get for 35 years, right? Transparency. Okay. The second objective is to make good and effective use of my time to not let my days slip away without good result. And that result typically is a matter of being a virtuous human, of being a good husband and father, because my first mandate is our daughter, and my second mandate is our marriage. And I know some people would put that backwards, but I do believe that the result, the product of our marriage, our daughter, is my wife and I's first interest, even ahead of ourselves. And I'm confident that Yumiko would agree with that. So we will sacrifice our own well-being for the sake of Emily's. The second good use of time, and I think I'm mixing things up now, is to live a virtuous life, to be a virtuous human being, where virtue is defined as seeking after the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures, improved happiness, basically. I don't want to cause or provoke or prolong misery. I want to make the world a happier place. And more improve well-being. And then the third part of that is the sharing of my own life mission, which is the story of going alone and the resulting good life creed. Exactly what I'm doing right now. This video fulfills my life mission. It is really the sharp, pointy edge of the spear of my life. Spear of my life. You get the idea. Where'd that other little dog go? I don't know. Gotta watch out when he takes off like that, but he just had a chance to go outside. All right, my third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's these 7 objectives and 32 principles that I'm really citing right now. And I do that through this daily endeavor of the good life meditation. Number 4 is the cultivation of good emotional reactions, to work on myself such that I become a person who doesn't fly off the handle, who keeps my cool and my control in all circumstances. I think I'm pretty much there. It's really pretty rare that I get flustered anymore. It does happen from time to time, but it's not very often. It was more often when I was younger and younger still. Boy, I think I was a bit of a basket case in my 20s, in terms of an emotional roller coaster, wearing my emotions on my sleeves. And I was kind of a mess in my 30s, because it was more of the lows than the highs, as I struggled in my 30s to figure out just what I wanted to do with life, and how to become a husband and a father and fulfill that responsibility and duty, which is a very large and difficult one, especially if you don't have resources or tradition or institutions to fall back on for guidance, kind of left on your own, or even family for that matter. So I kind of had to figure it out myself. The 40s were more of the same, although a little more morose maybe. 30s and 40s were not good decades necessarily. 50s, this is the good decade. And I'm just about to start the 60s soon. I think that's going to be better, even better yet. Although it's like finally unrolling the picnic basket for a nice picnic under the sun, just as a giant storm cloud, that storm cloud being disability and death, looms over the horizon. So be it. At least there's today. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. This, that, the other thing. Relieving suffering, promoting peace and well-being. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, what I can and what I can't possibly do, and applying apathy and indifference to the things that are outside my control, which are just about everything other than the exercise of virtue and the recognition and efforts to reduce or prevent vice. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. And if you then put it down simply as well-being, the things that are within my control, the things that I can touch, are my personal reactions and my own decision-making relative to what makes the world a better place and prevents the world from being a worse place. Everything else is indifferent, particularly my health, my wealth, and my reputation. Those three things are quite indifferent. Still struggling to totally grasp that overarching principle. That it's a tough one, but a good one. Last one is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Not to multitask, no matter how much coffee I've had. Okay, those are my 7 objectives. Now my 32 principles, as follows. Principle number 1 is the principle of war. To always be at war with everything that I already hold as true, and everything that is proposed to me as true that someone else wants me to believe, and everything that I attempt to onboard as true. So everything, basically, everything is held in a tentative state. And my beliefs should be less about absolute belief, but more as seen like models of how the universe might work and how life might function. Tentatively held, always being subject to examination. Models of reality, not absolute truths. Nothing truly chiseled in stone, besides my seeming biological mandate to reproduce, to raise my child to adulthood, and then to sustain her as best I can with my resources, and then die and get the hell out of the way. I kind of trespassed into another principle there, didn't I? Okay, my second principle is the principle of purpose. I have 3 sub-purpose. These are, and this is where I did trespass earlier, I did cover these already. Biology, being a husband and good husband and father, being a virtuous human being, and pursuing my own personal objectives, my own personal purpose in life, which is the sharing of the story of the going alone and the resulting good life creed. So yeah, I did cover those already. That was principle number 2. Number 3 is the homunculus. Put plainly, I don't think I have a soul or you have a soul or any of us does. I don't believe in that idea. There's the reason I don't believe in it is that there's been no compelling evidence to indicate that there's anything within us that survives our death other than our constituent pieces, our molecules and atoms, and the energy that contained within these things that will dissipate and, be dispersed and reused after our death in various ways. Nothing else. If someone can provide some good reason to think that we have a soul other than wishful thinking or faith or based on some dogma or the authority of someone who seems to describe that they know what they're talking about, then maybe I'll believe that. But as of to date in 58 years, nothing good. And I look every day. Nothing. So I round up to a conclusion, an operating conclusion based on the model that we are made of atoms and molecules, animated by the energy that flows through us, through some as yet undiscovered thing relative to abiogenesis, how life first kicked off and got started, that I expect to be fully understandable with the proper means and discovery and the efforts to unfold. So I do take that to be there. Like I said, I'm rounding up. I can't say it conclusively, but everything that we seem to understand today and everything that seems to unfold indicates that what we are is no more than biological processes, an end result of a complex chemical reactions that are fueled by the energy that comes into our little planet from our star and from within the planet itself. And as a result, I don't think there's anything about us that survives. No soul. When we're dead, we're dead. And when we're dead for good. That's the end of that. No coming back. So that's a pretty dramatic thing to think and say. It has a way of kind of putting a bit of a punctuation on life, right? I mean, if that's the end of us, better do something good about this. Better make good use of the time. And that really does have a catalyzing effect on me. Causes me to not waste my time. To make good uses of every day, to make a good and effective use of my time, which is my second objective. So that I have a life that is, in which case I am always ready to die. My first objective. All right, the next principle after the homunculus is the home of good and evil. The anchor hold, another funny name. And these are names that I didn't just make these up. I did borrow these from literature and tradition and history. The homunculus is a word to describe the little man within, and the anchor hold borrows from the tradition in Europe of devout, I guess they would be Christians or Catholics, who would wall themselves into the side of a church and live their lives in a little enclosure, a little cell inside called an anchor hold. And these people were called anchorites if they're men, and anchoritesses, I think, if they're women. Likewise, I picture the homunculus, the little man walled inside of me, peeking out through. In the anchorites, they would call it a squint, be a little hole in the inside wall of the chapel, because the anchorites were walled to the outside. They could gaze to imagine you're having the service there, you're kneeling and rising, you look over, there's a little hole there and a pair of crazy eyes looking out. That would be the anchorite within that had walled themselves in and has their food passed in and their waste passed out. That's them. That's us too. That's the homunculus inside of our skulls. Right behind the forehead, right back here, a little bit in front of where the ears are. That's at least where it feels like me, where my consciousness is peeking out through my eyes. Like the anchorite peeking through the hole, the squint in the church to watch the service. But in our case, we're watching life go by. And trapped. Excuse me. Never to escape. So that second part of that, really that could be a twofer, right? The homunculus and the anchor hold, go together. Little mortal, a little mortal trapped within, going down with his or her ship. There's the dog. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong. I don't think they exist out there in the universe. They're in here. They're the opinions that we have, born of our experience, our education, and our cogitation, what we've thought about the world. Come on up here. There you go. Next comes Rudy, you want to come over here? There's little Ollie. Ollie's gotten up on the sofa over there. Hi, Ollie. And here comes little Rudy. You want to come sit with me? Come in. Okay. Next comes what is next? Purpose. I think I already said this a little bit too. There are 3 purposes in my life. I already said this, right? Yeah, I already said it. What am I doing? I'm all over the place. It's like the 3rd time I brought this one up. Biology, being a good husband and father. Being a virtuous man, or virtue is defined as the well-being, improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. Here's one right here. And then the promotion of my own mission, which is the sharing of the Good Life story. The Going Alone story and the Good Life Creed. How many times am I going to say that? Okay, then comes the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, including Rudy and I. We're both atoms and molecules, and we're going to be falling to pieces very soon upon death. We're already falling to pieces. I certainly am. Then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. It's his nature to do this when he wants to be petted. Watch. Let's see if he'll do it. There he goes. He wants to be petted. Pet me, Papa. But you have to be petty. It's also his nature. Petty? You have to pet him carefully. It's also his nature to bite. If I pet him on the tummy, I'm safe. If I pet him like this, it's only a matter of very short time that I'll get bitten and he'll draw blood. It's his nature to react that way. He won't bite me like this, though, that I'm safe. It's also his nature to be very, very barky. It's also his nature to be very startled. And the people at the shelter, when we got him, they kind of knew that when we went to get him. They're like, really? Do you want this dog? They didn't want him. They didn't want us not to take him, but they also knew that he was a handful. And we're aware of that, and he's our little handful dog. But I do have to watch out with the new place. I don't want to be disturbing our neighbors with too much barking. And I have a plan, like I said, 2 plans. Okay, the next principle is maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. No, sorry, that's not right. The next principle is nature. I already talked about that one. Then the pirate ride, that's right. Free will, I believe, is an illusion. It's something that it's part of us, and it's a part of our operating element that causes us to take the world very seriously, to cogitate about options and deliberate and to take ownership for what we choose. And it's a very good thing that we do that, because it is basically the thing that makes us take life seriously and succeed. Without a sense of ownership, without a sense of free will, I don't know that we'd even be here. Yet, I don't think it's really true. I think we are, again, nothing more than very complex chemical reactions that consciousness is kind of an emergent quality as a result of the complexity of the thoughts that we have and the complexity of our nervous system. But like a tree, bending its leaves towards where the sun is, it seems to be making a decision to do that, but it's ultimately making reactions to the environment around us that are conducive to its long-term success and survival and success. So too, every action that we make. Now, it's a funny thing, though I believe it, I can't convince myself inside that that's the case, and probably I don't want to, because if I did, then what would I do? I might just give up and go take my folding chair down to the beach and stay there all day. It's important that I think that I'm free, and that I think that I have my own will, so that I continue to engage with the world. But I suspect that's not the case. I'm rounding up to a great extent in this case. I can't prove it. This is something that I take on faith, faith is something that I regard as a sin in my worldview. So I am consciously sinning in this case, and I accept that fact. I would love to have myself disabused of this belief. It is a belief. It's a belief that emerges within me. I don't choose to believe this. I simply do by virtue of the weight of more like reasoned thinking. Well, maybe it's not that reasoned even. It's just thinking. I call it the pirate ride in remembrance of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, where you can go on the little boat through the amusement park, and you can see the pirates waving and shooting at each other and yelling and drinking and carousing. And as a boy, when I went through there, I began to think, I wonder if that's us. I didn't really think it that way, but it planted a seed in my head. And it was going to Disneyland about 2 years ago with my family, going through that ride again, I remembered, that is us. We are just far more complex automatons, biological meat puppets, whatever the case may be. I prefer complex chemical reactions. Next is, there we go, maturity. Maturity is the next sub-principle, and it consists of 3 sub-principles. Wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and are able to strive to do better. Have the fortitude, the strength, the will, the endeavor to do better. The result is integrity. Integrity is a state of being where our life consequence, result, and product are in alignment with our values. It's the place to be. It's hard to get there when you're young because you don't have a lot of wisdom. You can't learn, you can't become wise through others or by example. You have to do it yourself. So that's why the 20s and the 30s are sometimes so fraught. Because we're collecting the experience, the positives and the negatives. But then we need to have some discipline. That's one of the things that military does. It gives the people the discipline to be able to withstand pain and to suffer towards better ends. And then what results is the life of integrity. But you have to have those good values to something to align to. Religion is good for that, right? It gives people values. It gives them guideposts to do that. It just so often it does so at the expense of their credulity, where they believe incredible things, impossible things, seemingly, for the sake of a value structure that they didn't really have to think about. They just simply needed to adopt and accept and align themselves to. It's convenient. Very convenient, actually, for creating families and structures and societies. Not my route, though. I'd rather give it a go at figuring it out for myself, and that's what the good life and going alone and the good life creed are the result of. Next is the social principle. We're social creatures. We need each other. There are three sub-principles here. Diplomacy, diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Those are the three, right? Diplomacy is what we do when we work together to come to reasonable agreements about what constitutes a better life and the pursuit of the good city. Justice is the aim that we're seeking after. And conspiracy, when we link arms in agreement, codify our values and our rules, and then create basically a pact, a set of laws that we're going to follow to create that more just city. The social principle also suggests that no, going alone is good, coming back is better. Although remaining back without having ever gone alone may be worse. Next is what is next? The public speaking. Yeah, that's it. There are, I think it's 4 sub-principles for public speaking. Best words, prudence, eloquence, rumor, and gossip. 5. Best words. I strongly recommend, cultivating a rich vocabulary and a rich example of eloquence by reading a lot and by listening to really good speakers. It's one of the things I'm going to try to do now in the time to come after we move to Huntington Beach. I'll be back in the heart of it all. Is to start going to, and now that COVID's kind of passed, I'm going to start going to lectures and presentations. I want to hear interesting people speak. So that's the thing. So best words, then, if we have that vocabulary and that model and that practice, we can then pick from the best words to pepper our own speech with the meaning just so that we want to give. Eloquence is the result of applying that and doing that and being that type of person that practices speaking. And doing something like this, a daily recitation at the camera, is helpful in that regard. It helps that I've done over 6,000 videos on YouTube, just like this, that makes one comfortable and with their own in their own skin and with their own voice. The hard part is prudence. Prudence is like a filter where whatever is coming out of our mouth or whatever is coming from our pen or from our fingers through the keyboard is being passed through the filter of our value structure, so that we're not allowing ourselves to engage in gossip or rumor or slander or being mean, but we are doing things to strive to create a more virtuous place for all of us. Doing that in the moment of now, it's like speaking while juggling. It's a tricky thing to do, but it can be done, and it's very worthwhile. It's the thing that makes our speaking of more interest and more compelling, because there's meat on the bone. It's a worthwhile endeavor, especially if we have a message that we want to share. The two negatives on this are rumor and gossip. I try to avoid those because they're nasty. Treating a rumor only causes upset and concern, and it may not even be true. Gossip, of course, is enjoying companionship, fraternity, and conversation at the expense of someone else's well-being. I don't want to do either of those, and I avoid both of them with a vengeance. I would much rather sit in absolute silence than to be the center of conversation, or even a part of conversation that is at the expense of anyone else, or at the possible compromise of truth. Okay, that was public speaking. Next is distraction and agency and the great indifference. Those are two that go together. Distraction is what we do to keep ourselves busy and entertained. It's what we do also so that we don't have to recognize the great emptiness of the universe that surrounds us, the quiet beyond the city lights in the deep wilderness, especially a desert wilderness, especially a moonscape like the Bristol Mountains north of Siberia Ghost Town in the Mojave Desert. If you go to Siberia, don't go there between April and October or November. Go between November and March. If you go there then, and then you hike to the mountains to the north, hike over the tracks, go carefully or under the bridge, and then up over that mountain, and then down you're into the deep water wilderness. Go there alone. Go there without a compass. Go there without any guides. You get beyond reach of any cell service. It won't be hard. You'll get beyond it pretty quickly. And you just might have a chance to witness the nothing. It's this thing to see. Although I suspect that by just telling you where I went to see it, that might spoil it. Maybe you'll have to find your own deep water wilderness somewhere. Make it a moonscape, make it desolate, and go alone. But be prepared to die. You may not make it back. That's the risk. If you do that, and you see the nothing, what do you do with that? That's what we distract ourselves from with work and play and hobbies and families and society and lectures and television and radio and politics and church and God. God being the biggest one of all. God who fills the void of the universe with its invisible presence, his invisible presence from the Western perspective, and then answers everything with his mystery. And we don't have to worry. We'll be well tended for. Someone's looking out for us if we're sincere, and if our prayers and supplications are correct, and our propitiation is done just so, then we'll be okay. And if not, that was not his will anyway. And Grandma, she's cared for. She's with God now. Oh, Rover, the pet dog, he's there too. And we'll be there soon as well. Not to worry. We go on and tell ourselves that. And that's a fine way to get by. Is it true? I think not. I've seen the emptiness. It's pretty deep. Doesn't seem to be anything back there. Maybe I'm wrong. Next is, we have a what is it? Is it the fiver now? There's a fly in here. Where did it come from? I must have been when I opened the door. Fiver. Temperance. I got myself a little distracted here. Temperance. Life will not go well. The horror show. That which must be born. And the Feast of Woeful. I can put all those together and explain it. Temperance is the throttling back of consumption. Not just of food and drink or wine or beer or sodas or whatever, but of that too, but of everything, namely our emotions, how we consume life, and what we do when we get upset or frustrated or happy or anything, right? It's all taken in moderation. If we can become a temperate human being, then when things don't go well, when the speed bumps come, we get a flat tire, the tax bill is more than we thought, our kids need braces, whatever the case may be, we can handle that better as well. We can also handle, we're also better prepared for, when things go really bad, what I call horror show level bad, when the doctor tells us we'll be dead in 6 months, when our house burns down, when our pet gets run over in the street, doesn't die immediately, and suffers, broken in our arms. This is really hard for me to do, picturing these things, these terrible things. And that last one with the pet, that's from my own experience. That stuff's really hard. It can break us. It really hurt us. But if we have temperance on our side, we can moderate our reaction, control ourselves better, and be more disciplined. This also helps with the last bit. That's the last two bit, the bearing what we must bear. We have to bear all those things. That's our adult responsibility. We can run if we want, but that's not very grown up. The last part is to not blow up later, right? Take in all that pain and suffering and build it up inside, and then release it out at the expense of others at a later date, and try to avoid that. So that's those 5 together. Temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, the that which must be born, and the Feast of Woeful, which is the controlling our consumption of the waste and upset of others, and the upset of others that they throw out into the world when they've had enough, and not being the type of person that throws our upset on others just for the sake of getting it out of us. Next comes the best seat in the house, to not want to be anyone else or be anywhere else or be doing anything else other than where I am, who I am, and what I'm doing right now, all the while striving to be a better man in a better position, doing something better. See, it's a kind of a strange thing to be content with what we are while striving for better. It's no easy feat. Next comes the Path of Wildness. It's a 4-fer actually. The Path of Wildness, the Great Life Adventure, the Restless Man, the Path of Wildness, the Great Life Adventure, and the Risk of Avoiding Risk. 4 to go together. Let's deal with those. The restless man or woman is a person who in life feels driven towards something else. They see the safe and sane course ahead of them, right? Education, career, home, family, saving for retirement, and death. But they say there must be more. That's my wife. It's one of the reasons what brought us together, and it's one of the reasons we've been together all these years, is that of all the things that are different between the two of us, we have we are both restless people. That's why we keep moving all the time. It's not that we're seeking anything else. It's that we enjoy the ride. We enjoy the experience of changing and lifting ourselves from one situation into another. So we do that, and it's a lot of fun, and it creates interesting life stories, little anecdotes of life here and there. I call that movement from one life circumstance to another the path of wildness. It's easy to find. It's the course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast's track through the brush, and the direction of our first inclination. It's the place that we go when we step away from the known course that we're on, headed into something new, leaving behind what we had before. The result, if you step boldly upon the path of wildness, is a great life adventure, the experience of a new life, and all that comes with that. It's fascinating, it's wonderful, it's heartbreaking, it's destructive, it's painful, it's terrific. It's a whole mixed bag of wonder and pain and upset and greatness and new life and everything all together. I highly recommend it if you're a restless man or woman. Don't expect it to be all sunny days. There'll be lots of rain, lots of pain, lots of joy, lots of loss, and a great deal of gain, perhaps more insubstantial than a bank account or a 401k, but worthwhile nonetheless, especially if you've taken it young, because you can have the time to recover and get back on your feet. And then the next one is, the fourth part of that is the risk of avoiding risk. I kind of mentioned before that the safe and sane route involves 5 elements. Going to school and getting an education, starting a career, starting a home and a family, and saving for old age. That's the surface level risks. They're hard, but at least we have encouragement from our family and our friends and everyone around us. And there are social institutions, schools and banks and places that will give us a job, and 401ks and etc. to help us along the way. The deep risk of life is not attending to the curiosity and the interest, whatever it was that restlessness that was driving us forward into a new life. If you don't listen to that and attend to that, especially at a young age, it'll probably haunt us for the rest of our lives. And it gets harder to assuage with each passing year, and especially each passing decade, maybe almost impossible after the 5th decade. Some try, some succeed. It's hard though. It's better to set a precedent at a younger age, particularly from 25 to 30. Give yourself those 5 years all to yourself. Off you go. Come back come back at 30. Bruised, broken, broke. Maybe even dead. Although you won't be coming back dead, you'll just be dead. Which is not a bad end in itself. Okay, next is sin and damnation. There are 3 broad categories of sin in my life. Now, I don't believe in any God, so I don't think there's any sinning against any God. The sin is against good living, the values of good living. And these broad categories are being untrue, believing things that are untrue, or doing things that harm others, namely spreading rumors and sharing gossip, performing gossip. Credulity, believing things too easily. Falsity, being untrue. Faith, believing things while using faith as the foundation for that belief, which is nonsense because faith is the belief itself. You can't use the belief as the foundation for the belief. That doesn't make any sense. Authority, or superstition, believing things that are categorically identified as silly and nonsense. Authority, believing things based on tradition and the office or appearance or seeming impressiveness of someone. Dogma, believing something simply because of a long tradition or a big canonical text or just the way it is. And then finally, rumors and gossips. All 7 of those are sins that I try to avoid because they result in damnation, not in any afterlife, but in the here and now. Next is complete oblivion. After we're dead, that's the end of us. we won't, since I don't think we have any soul, and I don't think there's any God, and there's no heaven or hell or any afterlife. When we're dead, that's the absolute end of us. We just dissolve away into, or get burned up into our constituent pieces, our little molecules and atoms, and a lot of our energy is dispersed out into the universe. We're not going to see anyone again after death. There'll be no final reunion with loved ones because none of us survive. There'll be no final reconciliation of if we left each other on sour terms via death. There'll be no chance to make up for those things. Not that it will matter anyway. And there'll be no final justice because there's no afterlife, no soul, no heaven, no hell, no justice giver, just an end. So seek after reunion, reconciliation, and the effective sanctioned promotion of justice, namely through being a virtuous man or a woman. Again, where virtue is defined as doing things to improve the well-being of thinking creatures. Do all of that while we have this one chance, these few years remaining between us, that may not even be years, because the horror showed me, wait, death resides right over your right shoulder, right behind you. Can you hear it breathing? Does death breathe? Okay, then next is sin and damnation, complete oblivion, the bullseye aim, shooting for the mark but missing, the uphill climb, trudge, make today a little higher than yesterday, up the mountain of life, the arena and utility, life is an arena for the development of principles and objectives that help us pursue a better life. Nothing is enough. There really is so little that is of any meaning. It's mostly who we are and how we behave. And then finally, the principle of fun, a reminder to try to enjoy today. Enjoy the remembrance of yesterday. And enjoy the planning and the execution of good times tomorrow. Okay, I think I made it through. Let's talk about the plan for today. I'm going to finish this. I'll feed my dogs. I'll read my Bible. I'm going to read Hosanna 8, I think it is, today. Then I'll feed the dogs, walk the dogs, change into my work clothes, get started on my day. I think I am going to work from home today. I told Yumiko I was going to go to the office, but I changed my mind. I'm going to work from home today. I'm going to make it a good day, the best possible that I can. It won't be without challenges, and I expect it'll be hard. And in the evening, I'll enjoy a nice evening with my wife. We'll enjoy our dinner together. We'll watch our shows, and then I'll go to bed. And I'll do it again tomorrow. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe.